As meditation deepens, you realize that you're walking away from the thoughts. Thoughts can be of any kind. Thoughts are all about sansar. Sansar, connections, ownerships, regrets, anxieties, losing, winning, competing, insulting, feeling joy of others' company. This comprises of the sansar. And the sansar is in the form of thoughts. Every single component of the sansar has to be recorded in your mind as a thought, including your own identity as whatever your name is. You are a female or a male or a human being versus animal. All these are etched in your mind. And as you keep on meditating and you start walking away from the mind, and yet you still exist, you reach to your primordial identification before you were given an identification. The unidentified, unidentifiable existence comes into the picture. And this is where the consciousness prevails. This is where sansar ends and your primordial existence takes over. All the information in our mind is all we know about ourselves. This is our total identity. But without meditation, there is no way to know what is beyond that. A child is born with pure innocence. His connection with sansar has not started until he believes, or he starts believing, that this body is me. Until then, he remains in a pure conscious state. And if a child, before the consciousness has converted into identification, is any evidence of the consciousness itself, the nature of a young child, before he starts believing that he is the body, his innocence must be the innocence of the consciousness. His purity must be the purity of the consciousness, unidentifiable consciousness. The friendship that he exuberates, the joy he exuberates, has to be the original characteristics of the consciousness. And this consciousness is flowing within us only if we can disidentify the falsely created identifications. Identifications are important for the sansar, to live in the sansar. But deep inside, they are a burden on the mind. That's why intelligence loses against the innocence of a newborn. The stressful mind of a man feels jealous of the stress-free smile of a baby. Why are we so attracted to the baby, to the innocence? If we think intelligence and smartness is so important, why do we still like the innocence of the baby? Because that is our nature that we have forgotten. This is the nature that we're looking for. Smartness will not take us to the innocence. Words will not take us to the silence. Baby does not speak any language. He has no way of communicating with others. But he's joyful, eager to make friends with anyone and everyone, because he's still under the grip of pure consciousness. That's why when Jesus was asked, "Who can enter into the kingdom of the heaven that you have promised?" he picks up a child standing next to him, and he says, anybody who can become like a child will be allowed to enter. People whose minds are filled with ego identifications, with complexes, people who are intoxicated with their achievements, with their collections, with their smartness, are the one who will not be allowed into the kingdom of heaven. People full of words, full of scriptures, full of books, full of so-called knowledge, will never receive the knowledge of the self, which is for the people who have realized the futility of this knowledge, futility of the ways of the sansar. Sansar is business, where everything is for sale. You trying to get something, so you put what you have for sale. And there will be a buyer who is looking for exactly what you have to offer, but then they have to offer something else. Whether it is the real business being conducted or boys and girls trying to select each other as their mates, it's the same sad story everywhere. Sansar is business. Minds are needed for this business. When the minds are transcended, business is transcended, smartness is transcended, intelligence is transcended, cunningness, craftiness, how to be ahead in sansar, how to be better than others, how to be more superior than the others, is transcended. The duality is transcended. And then you meet this consciousness, which is serene, which is above and beyond this duality. You become non-dual. You don't have any connections, and yet you are connected with everyone. You don't have any friends because you don't have any enemies, Everybody is the same. In sansar, you have friends and you have enemies. Again, it is a byproduct of the mind. Mind divides. There is sukh and there is dukh. But again, that's the play of the mind. At the consciousness level, there is always sukh, just like you see it on the face of the child. Because sansar has not been written up on his mind yet. The duality has not entered into his mind yet. He is still in the non-dual state, in the purna state, completeness state. So, the joy of being in that state is above the sukh and the dukh, happiness and unhappiness, gains and loss, superior, inferior, famous and nobody knows you, feeling, connectedness, having hundreds of friends, versus you have no friends, feeling depression, stress, anxiety. All these are byproducts of the mind, which have been tainted by the sansar. But go beyond the mind, and you hit this primordial consciousness, which is represented on the face of a child. Then the joy of being in that state itself is the price. Joy of being in a state where gains and losses don't mean anything. Sukh and dukh doesn't mean anything. The primordial peace and quiet and serenity of the consciousness grabs you, holds you, does not let you go back to the sansar. And yet you live in the sansar, and that's where the challenge is. To be in the state like that of a child, full of innocence, full of connectivity to every single creature, every single human being, every single tree, every single rock, to be connected with everything. And at the same time, not believing in the connections which are set up by the sansar for its own convenience, but not a reality. Creations of relationships breaks your relationship with others with whom you are not connected. When you say my family is more important than anything else in the world, you're not realizing you're breaking your connection with millions of creatures of the universe, which could have been your family. Realize this. Go deep within. Find your primordial state of existence before the life comes to an end. Have a good day.